I'd like to thank Eric Davis for helping me whip this into shape. So, it's been a year. It tends to hit me without much fanfare. Class, here's tomorrow's assignment. Here's your exams. Here's your diploma. Wait a second. What just happened? Our final year at boot camp, and I always knock my head on the doorframe when I leave. But one thing I've learned to pay more attention to is the little things. I never used to look up much in class, busy doodling in margins, but funny people do funny things, and I've seen a bunch of funny people at this school. I'll be naming names. For instance, Ariel Crackman, who had a habit of staring mistily into outer space and was often heard laughing as kindness would if it had a voice. Or our Marielle Boudreau, who flings her hair back and recites Catullus and Gatsby without warning. Eric Lee, who taught me to punch people in slow motion in place of saying hello. Larry Geffen, with whom my advisor meetings would turn inexplicably into a quest to find a picture of a red-billed duck on Google. Stuart Spina, who'd recommend in a quiet, excited shout that clubs go meet in 6F, which exists outside our 5-floor space continuum. The Eliases, Xander, and Sophie, who come up with phrases such as primitive molality, because they like to hear consonants hit vowels. John Atkins, tipping in his chair 10 inches this way, 10 inches that, having his Skittles confiscated from him in class. Talia Leonard, who babysat the 2 little Sherry kids during Hancock and taught them to sit on her feet. In the heavy shoe technique, she drags little Dylan forward by means of her leg, wondering aloud why her shoe has gotten so heavy, and drags little Ella forward, puzzled to see that her other shoe is also quite heavy. These little things have made daily life more interesting, as if a light has gone on at night, a reason to use my eyes, a first step. I'd like to compare this to reading a book. A good author can tell her readers what to see, and top-notch ones can take you to the next step, showing feelings and thoughts that ring true with you. One story that did this for me was The Dead, a bit of Joyce that we read in 11th grade. Here's a brief synopsis. Gabriel attends a party with his wife, Greta. In the first half story, the party happens and our couple is about to leave when he sees her standing on the stairs, turned away, listening to someone singing. She'd make a pretty painting, he thinks, labeled distant music. In the second half, they're at their hotel room, and he tries to flirt, but she's tired. Impatiently, he asks, "What is the matter?" And she did not answer at once. Then she said, in an outburst of tears, "Oh, I am thinking about that song." She broke loose from him, ran to the bed, and hid her face. Gabriel is astonished. "Why does that song make you cry?" he asks. She dried her eyes with the back of her hand like a child. "I am thinking about a person long ago who used to sing that song." "And who was the person long ago?" asked Gabriel, smiling. "It was a young boy I used to know," she answered. "I was going to leave my grandmother's, and he was ill. I wouldn't be let see him, so I wrote a letter saying I was going and hoping he would be better. The night before I left, I heard gravel thrown up against the window. I ran into the garden, and there was the poor fellow, shivering. I implored him to go home at once and told him he would get his death in the rain. But he said he did not want to live." Gabriel isn't pleased by Greta's train of thought. He'd assumed she'd been thinking only of him, loving only him. He doesn't know what to do with this contrary evidence, but he begins to feel a strange, friendly pity for her. As she tells her story, Gabriel looks at his wife, thinking about her past her dead lover, his thoughts turned with sympathy to the entire mortal race. One by one, they were all becoming shades. He thought of how she, who lay beside him, had locked in her heart that image of her lover's eyes when he had told her that he did not wish to live. Very sober stuff. I find The Dead to be about the move beyond paying attention, step one, and into step two, understanding. We live with parts of ourselves kept safe, hoping to share them someday with someone who will understand. A story like this comes as a knock on the head to someone who only reads books that are funny and thrilling all the time. It tells you, hey, there's more to life than the little you glean from the first read through. Life is full of details that aren't obvious and messages that take time to understand. And you're not going to want to leave those kinds of things unnoticed. But there is plenty that I do notice and still don't understand. For one thing, I never understood what Danny Moraff was trying to say to me all those years when he would come up firing at me. So what do you think about that Republican nominee, huh? He sure has a nice mustache. Speaking of Danny, how kids like him manage a commute longer than an hour each way, each day, take maximum courses, hold a part-time job, without inhaling caffeine pills every day. I don't know what Jay Husson's face looks like when he's serious. Or how Seth Hanselman's eyebrows work. I don't get how Josh Nadell can keep a straight face. Or why Layla Mushnik can't. I don't know why people have loud and private conversations when other kids are standing right there. And teachers are huddling behind every closed door, plugging their ears in vain. Speaking of which, how do our teachers handle those claustrophobic offices with those tiny, breathless windows? And how can they hold classes with the I-95 rollicking below? I don't know why Alex Grant decided to call me Smooth Young Norton one day, but I still have fond memories of that season of DDR. I don't get why the good people from chorus hum Kyrie in spontaneous unison during econ, or why Melissa Haber can never escape her students, or how some kids swagger about like parrots, flapping out deft handshakes, while others at our school knit and wear dresses every day of their lives, even guys. I don't get why hangman is such a fad at our school. But I suggested to Ali Rosenthal once, why don't we draw people we know? And we played a game where we almost hung Miss Grant on the gallows. Ali said, "What are we doing? This is so disturbing. Why did we think this was a good idea?" And worst of all, I don't get the jokes on our milk cartons. For example, what do you call a dragon in oatmeal? What do you call a dragon in oatmeal? If anyone finds out, please let me know.